What up? What up? Welcome back to the Sneaker History Podcast. My name's Nick Engvall. Got my guy Mike Guillory with me. Gonna roll a two-person show today. Um, yeah, got an interesting topic. But how's life, Mike? Are you surviving the snow and snow and beach weather all in 1 week down
Oh
there in
man,
Texas?
we thought out. No idea what's going on, but I'll take it. We're just hoping that all these pipes keep calm because now everything's water start flowing. But since they're like deep in places, they still are cold. There's a possibility of things still blowing up like pipes wise. So fingers crossed we don't have any issues there.
Yeah, man. I don't envy you at all. That like living in Colorado and Detroit and yeah, even in New York, when I was in New York, there was people in the neighborhood had pipes break. Thankfully, cross my fingers, all that stuff. I don't have to deal with that, but
Yeah.
it's not a fun thing to deal with. It's crazy how that's been handled by everyone though. Like I've been so disappointed by so many things politically, right? And like to see all of the stupidity that's gone on with that
Oh, it's
and
fantastic
to
how bad
realize
it is.
like I understand the not wanting to have the federal government involved in your stuff, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
government and whatever. Like I get that concept. But these are the types of things that you see and you're just like, this is why you need that backup plan, right? Like this is
Mm-hmm.
why the government has to exist to do something,
Yeah.
no matter how much you think, you might think that it could be run as a business and blah blah blah. It's like I just don't see how that
Look,
works.
Texas is like a 15-year-old kid who's like, you know what, mom and dad, I don't need you. They go somewhere, get in a wreck. What do I do? I don't understand
Yeah,
what to do
yeah,
now. I need to call somebody.
yeah, yep, exactly. That's a great analogy. I mean, and I think like we've all been there. We've all been on. I mean, we've all been there on both sides of that fence, right? We either been there when a sibling or somebody else we know was dealing with it. We also been there like, yeah, man, I made it.
That's
I made
me.
it back. Gotta backtrack a little bit, get some help, but yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Uh, but hey, at
Yeah.
least now, hopefully we're moving past it, right? I didn't see any like crazy storms in the future for you, so
No, I think we're good. As you know, right now. I mean, it's telling the winter. We're going into March next week. I'm hoping that we're good now. Now hurricanes again. Yay.
yeah. Man, it's crazy because it's funny because like when I've moved around a lot, right, and everybody's like afraid of earthquakes. Like if I mean now fires too
Yeah.
because they're burning year round instead of just in a certain season.
Mm-hmm.
But earthquakes are always the thing that people are like, man, I don't know how you could handle it. Don't get me wrong, earthquakes not fun, but I would happily trade 20 seconds of the ground shaking for like a weekend or longer of a hurricane, hitting you like the way it does Florida, Texas, all those places. I mean, yeah, I just like give me all the intensity and a short
Yeah.
hit and like let me live my
It's
life.
basically like, let me take a shot of the strongest liquor you have. Well, let me just keep pounding it for a week and a half straight. Let's see what happens. Like, no, I just give me the shot of the worst thing
Yeah,
you got, and I'm done.
yeah, yeah.
I don't want it. I don't want it.
Oh man. Well, what have you been rocking? What are you copping this week,
Oh
man?
man. So for rocking, zero hype here, but a gazillion percent comfort because it's mainly been, grocery store, walking dog kind of week. Presto, React. This I forgot this shoe really was like kind of like really popular when it released, but it immediately was kind of gone. It was on like that finish line, $45, $49 rack, and I don't know, super
Yeah,
comfortable. For it's one of those things I dug out the closet, like, man, I need to wear these some more. And dude, I recommend it if you find it for cheap, grab it. But when it comes to copping, I've been I think I'm gonna take Chris or Nightwing's route here lately because I've been just super disappointed about the compares I have of getting like certain things, and I've been kind of looking for past items that uh passing I just kind of missed out on, but for good price. I don't want to spend arm and a leg, and I'm really kind of pondering. I think I'm going to pull a trigger, getting the King's Throne LeBron 16 from the was that the
All right.
second LeBron watch, because I'm not gonna get any new ones. It's just not happening. We just know that we know the luck already. So I want to just kind of create my own luck and just get the things I know I can actually control for decent prices.
Yeah, man, I feel you on that. I'm kind of on the opposite side of that this week because my cop is I'm really hoping to get those ready-made blazers, which are just super bizarre, like out there, but also I will have no chance. It will be sold out. Like
it's sold out now.
I'm not gonna pay. Yeah, it's sold out now, basically. I mean, I saw like on like I forget if it was StockX or Goat, but like I looked up prices just to see, and it's like anywhere from $600 to $700 already, and I'm just like,
no,
okay, great, that's not happening. No. Everybody's gonna get it and try to resell it. So I don't know, maybe it'll work. But Rockin, I chose comfort, but I went a little old school. Puma R698.
Yeah,
this is one of my favorite, just kind of general runners. This is a super dope shoe. I'll link to it somewhere in the description. You can always get links to the description in the description to like the stuff we're rocking and copping, so you can see it if we're not showing it to you. But the Puma R698, man, every once in a while you can pick them up on like eBay or discount sites for like $30-$40 shipped. It's a super dope shoe, super comfortable for that. It's like, I would say it's right up there with like an Air Max 1, Air Max 90 in terms of comfort, but it's just not a hyped up shoe, so nobody's really paying attention to it to that extent.
Yeah.
So that was what I was rocking today.
Good shoe. Good shoe.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites. I think, it's got the 90s vibes with the pink hit and like the splatter print, all that stuff.
Oh, dude, it's straight AirTech challenge almost.
Yeah. But so I wanted to also say, like, you could kind of see all this goodies. I mean, my place is a mess because I'm actually about to redo the whole thing. This whole side of the room is literally stacked up. Both sides, stuff just stacked up. So you can see all these goodies behind us. We're doing a giveaway on our Patreon/Discord. You can check it out at patreon.com/sneakerhistory. We're going to do monthly giveaways, a couple pairs of shoes, got some Sneaker Throne display cases, drop side display cases. I found a Jordan 11 Concords Know Your Roots t-shirt that I had left over, and a bunch of other random stuff. But if you're interested, definitely check it out. I think it's going to be super fun. We're also starting trivia nights in the next few weeks, which is going to be a blast. Ron, shout out to Greg Taylor for helping me put all this together. The community is growing, and we're having a lot of fun with it. So I hope you guys at least and check it out over at patreon.com/sneakerhistory. So normally we'd read a review. I can't talk tonight, man. A review right now, but we don't have any new ones. So if you have a moment to head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review, that would be super appreciated.
Yes.
All right. So I think we could probably just jump straight into the main topic, right? Okay. So as Mike and I were talking about what to discuss on this episode, basically decided that, this whole Kanye West and Kim Kardashian divorce thing is an interesting topic, because I think that Kanye is going to have a hard time selling as many shoes as he's been selling. And I don't think that's going to happen overnight. I think that that's going to happen over, let's say, the course of a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I don't think that sneakerheads care about Kanye and Kim, right? Most people just like to hate. So I understand that. But I think that just in sheer volume and reach, the Kardashian clan as a whole has ridiculous amounts of followers. So we just quickly looked at Instagram. You could look at all the other platforms, but let's just look at like Instagram, Facebook, right? Like, I think Kanye has like 5 million on Instagram. He obviously hasn't been on Instagram the whole time, and he's been off and on that. He's kept his Twitter account alive for the most part. He's got about 30 million, I think, on there. Kim Kardashian has, let me make sure that I'm getting this right. Kim Kardashian has 69 million followers on Twitter alone and 206 million on Instagram. Now, if you just take, I can't remember all the names, Kim, Kylie, Kendall, and the others, just the
All of
sisters,
them.
they have 818 million followers on Instagram. That is just insane. So, like, the fact that all those people are normally supporting pushing out the new Yeezy releases, I just think that just the volume of it is going to impact the business. If it didn't, why would any brand ever pay an influencer to speak about a new release, right?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know, man. What do you think? I'll let you roll with it for a minute here.
Yeah, because no, like when you first mentioned it, Nick, I was like, oh, I don't think so. Then we started talking about the numbers, like, oh crap, you're right. Because I was in that category of just, oh, sneakerhead. I don't give a crap about what the Kardashian people are doing because I don't follow them. So, but it is a good point because anytime something releases, Kanye's new sneaker, the family's in the sneaker. And with that, you got two, like I say, 800 million followers. Barring any overlap, whatever. But those people who are probably just a casual, just more a fan of, like, oh, I buy shoes if they're trendy and like cool, because I guess the person who's going to follow them is going to be more into like the trendy fashion. And if they're following them with, oh, they're wearing this, they're wearing that, and they see Yeezy's, like, oh, cool, I'm gonna go to, oh, where can I get it? Adidas. Oh, great, I'm gonna go on that website and be part of the whatever raffle, so on and so forth. So I think, Nick, you make a good point after sitting here just kind of looking at it from I guess a macro view as opposed to my micro little view of this is my little segment I like to live in. Yeah, man, I hope it doesn't. I mean, I would hate to see a sneaker brand. I don't think it'll ever go under. I think he will still be around, but I would hate to see it just diminish in value. I guess I don't know if the value is the right word, but the perception of it go to pieces because of a influencer family. Because I honestly, like, I'm not even trying to be funny. I don't know what they do. I know they're rich. They put things on. They get paid to put those things on. And so I think they're like the first family of influencers. Like, that's kind of seems like where like the real term came from, because people will trip, stumble, and fall to get them in something so they can push that product. Um, I was joking. I was like, well, I guess Travis Scott just kind of hangs around like, hey, I'm not going to cause too much trouble, but I need you to wear this Jordan collab because I need that extra. Because guarantee, I guess he's coming out with a seltzer now, like an alcoholic seltzer. We can bet money right now that you're going to see at least one of those sisters, popping a can of that on Instagram whenever it releases. And, oh, look, we have, these things selling out. I'm like, who's buying them? Because if these things are selling out like crazy, I know underage people buying them because there's no way in the world.
I mean, so I think that's natural though, right? Like I think like if my group of friends, if we lived close to each other, right? Like if we had our own stuff coming out, I mean, I send you guys sneaker history t-shirts. Like anything we do for sneaker history, I get you guys involved. I try to get the community involved with the Discord because that's the way that we're gonna support each other and grow this stuff. But I think that
definitely
when you're playing on that level, I mean, they could even do brand deals with those brands, but they can all afford to pay each other that money too if they wanted to go that route, right? But I
they
think
want
it's
it.
just
Yeah,
natural
yeah.
to be like, look, these are the people that I hang out with and live with and, socialize with. And they just happen to be super famous too, right? Like that's the crazy part about that whole family is like, not only is it just them too, right? Like the other thing that's really interesting about the way like the Kardashian, this works for a lot of people that have massive groups of famous people, right? You see it on a smaller level with like gamer teams, like with certain, like I would say influencer celebrity type people where their fan pages also have millions and millions of followers. So like I just searched for Kardashian on Instagram,
like fan page,
and it's like you've got the Keeping Up with the Kardashians fan or actual page is almost 3.5 million or whatever followers just for the show. Then you've got Kardashian clips, Kardashian videos, all these like fan pages that are also in the 2 to 3 million followers. But then you've got like Dash Kids, which is the Kardashian Jenner kids, 428,000 followers. So like the amount of people that just naturally will see all of these different people talking about the Kardashians is also what makes them so like valuable in terms of the like influence that they actually have. And like you could debate whether they're legit or whether they do nothing or whatever. Like I personally think that they actually have a lot of business like success, right? Like granted, like yes, you have like, you know, there's the argument of, oh, they don't do anything and they just post, you know, themselves doing all this stuff. But like that's basically what you and I do when we put a sneaker on YouTube and talk about it. It's just that they happen to have, you know, millions and billions of dollars behind them, and all their billionaire follower friends do the same thing, right? So it's like it's just a really interesting thing to think about. And I think like I think the other part of it is like the one thing that I have always wondered about Kanye's, like, you know, I don't want to use the term bipolar and like an attack on that if that is his sickness, because I think that a lot of us have those tendencies, myself included, to go back and forth. And like you hit me on one day and I'll be 100% good, feeling like I'm on top of the world, and the next day I might not want to even get out of bed. And the challenge with that, and the challenge like for me just relating to my life is constantly putting yourself out there and pushing yourself to do more and more, right? Like I started doing that, like do cool shit, you know, YouTube series on the channel. And like it's been tough. Like there's been days where I've just been like, I can't do this today. I need to take a break from it because I'm doing other things. There's also been days where like this last week I did it and I'm like, I did not feel like doing it. I didn't feel like dealing with it at all. But I'm like, look, I got to keep myself pushing forward with this, because at the end of the day, I want to do more of this stuff. I want to eventually, you know, turn this podcast in a way for us to kind of create a living for ourselves. I think we have a good thing going. And I think like that's a part of me trying to grow these things. But at the same time, you know, looking at Kanye, seeing the way the perception for me as a, you know, I say a fan very loosely because it's been a while since I've been truly a fan of Kanye, but like I watch what he does and I just think, okay, can he ever have people around him that encourage him to like participate in the internet culture the way that say an Elon Musk does, right? Because Elon Musk is incredibly savvy as a business person, obviously, otherwise he wouldn't have gotten to where he's at financially. But he's also just internet savvy. And I think that if you have those types of abilities as a celebrity, as an athlete, as a, you know, influencer, YouTuber, whatever it is, the more you can play those games, the better off you're going to be, because everybody likes to see the fun that can be had with it, right? And the one thing that's always been tough with Kanye is like he doesn't want to let his guard down. He doesn't want to show those things. You know, he doesn't want to compromise from who he is, which, you know, from what I saw on like the search is like that seems to be the reason that they're getting a divorce, because he doesn't want to compromise. And like I mean, to me it's just like, well, how do you get that? So I have to like, you know, in full transparency, actually Brandon Edler just posted it. So like 5 years ago, 6 years ago today, excuse me, I got to meet Kanye. And just in passing, you know, but like Wex hooked it up, told us to come out into the hallway. They were having a meeting while we were filming in another room. And like I came out and just hooked, you know, shook his hand, told him thanks for what he was doing, because we were launching Yeezys at I think we were doing some content around the Yeezys around the first 750 launch for Adidas. And he was super humble, super like nice, right? And I think that's the crazy part, is like having to see, like, have my experience with him. This is after he's, you know, gone from Nike, come to Adidas, hasn't really gone down the like the you know the like mental health struggles that now become
Yeah, at least
normal,
they
right?
weren't public at that point.
Yeah. And so it's
Yeah.
like, okay, like, my experience is still like, I am the fan that is, I miss the old Kanye, right? Like that is me as a fan,
Yeah.
because I felt like there was so much speaking his truth and value to it. And the more he grew, he got into this point of where he's almost like, you want the flamboyant, like, swag aspect of it, but you also want the truth behind it.
Hmm.
And he got to a point where it seemed like he never let his guard down, right? And or
Yeah.
he would get to a certain point, kind of like that, the Sway interview, where he was just like, he hits a certain point and he can't go back down below it, right?
Yeah.
And I do that too. Like I'm very much like, I'm very calm when you see me here, but I can definitely get very overheated very quickly, and it's really hard for me to like check myself and get back into it. So like I've found ways to
Yeah.
deal with that, like whether that's going for a walk or calling somebody I need to talk to, or going for a run, or God forbid punching a wall or something. Like it's just ways that I and like, okay, I got to come back into like my own self, right? But then with Kanye, it's been a long time
Hmm.
since we've seen that from him. So I wonder, you
Yeah.
know, I wonder where he's at with it. And then like thinking the other thing, actually, I'm going to toss it to you and I'll bring it up in a minute. But
Yeah.
I want to know like what you think about how, like, do you think Kanye and social media like needs to happen in a way that like we look at social media, or do you think like it just could work, the TMZ style clips of him where everybody else is posting is enough for him to kind of still be this like massive presence?
I think he's gonna have to find a way to come back into his own. Not in the sense of, again, never want to downplay if something is, actually he's battling something. So everyone has their own, demons they're trying to figure out, and so all do wish the best for him. I don't ever want to push anybody to say, "Oh, you have to do it because you just only way you can sell." But I would like to see him come back in a sense of maybe not, I know people like to see the personal life stuff, but maybe not. Maybe it's just kind of like day in the life at the, Yeezy factory, day in the life on the ranch. Maybe just showing back when it used to be like, what was it, Good Fridays? Like, give us some more clips of music. Just things like that, just to kind of let people in, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And I know something because you really mentioned now he's very like guarded. He's not going to really. He's when he talks about what he's going through, he's really almost boastful about it. Yeah, I don't know if that's the right term, but it kind of almost is when you listen to those interviews. But if he would have, when he has those moments, maybe circle back to, hey, give us like a personal moment, like, hey, look, this is what's happening. This is what I'm going through right now. No one's asking for apologies because I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you are who you are. You don't have to apologize for every little thing. I mean, it just kind of seems kind of redundant at a certain point. But yes, in a short word, yes, he has to get back out there in the public because he's become kind of a reclusive, um, almost like one of those genius, like those people, like very smart people who are just like they don't know what to do with it. It's like I'm
Mm-hmm.
so smart I can't figure out even how to have basic human interaction. But when you look at things like the closest I saw to like a normal Kanye was when I can't remember. I guess it was during kind of like the fallout of everything where there was like, oh, they're trying to send doctors out here to come get me. Is when Dave Chappelle went out there.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle, like that's his boy from years. You watch the Chappelle show, like him and Common were always on there doing stuff, and he was just out there just being normal, like being funny, like, hey, tell us a joke, like stuff like that. And I think that's more people want to see. They could relate to him more as maybe not the old Kanye because people evolved to something different,
Yeah.
but give them some remnants of what they remember. Like, oh, he was, Kanye was a like fun guy. Like he was used to be. He always was like bright with the colors and things like that. Like I think if he goes to like show those kinds of things and like maybe break down his design process, just humanize himself a little bit, I think that would help in this, I guess, transition of audience.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I also I'm not a fan of like people having to do things like that, right? Like
Yeah.
I definitely disconnect from my phone, from social, all of it, right? Like I do it
Mm-hmm.
pretty frequently. You know, it's nothing against anybody that's texting or commenting or whatever, but like I just am on it so much across multiple accounts, managing other people's stuff, managing our stuff, my own stuff,
It's a
that I just
lot.
have to not look at the internet sometimes because it's it's exhausting. So I
Mm-hmm.
can't imagine doing it when you have millions of people following. Um, but I think too the other interesting thing is the natural rebuttal to me my stance on this. I think for most people listening is going to be something along the lines of like Kanye also has this big network, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he absolutely does. He as you said, like Dave Chappelle, Common, like Pusha T is always a big supporter.
Mm-hmm.
Pharrell seems to be a big supporter still.
Yep.
Obviously, you know his relationship
Still,
with guys like Virgil, with um, you know,
still got Wex. Wex still a huge supporter of him,
yeah,
even though he's
Wex
not
is a
at
huge
Adidas.
supporter. Don C,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like
Jerry.
yeah,
Right.
all these people that have kind of grew up or not grew up, but like come up with Kanye or around Kanye for the last 5-10 years, they
Mm-hmm.
all obviously are really influential people. But like the largest in terms of numbers, I think, is Virgil Abloh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Virgil. This sounds crazy to say, but he only has 5.8 million followers on Instagram. So
It's insane.
comparatively, he's just a touch over Kanye on Instagram, but like he's one of the people that I think gives more transparency into who he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's almost actually taken Kanye's formula and just like stuck to it and applied it, right? Like I think back to
Mm-hmm.
like you know, back in the day, Kanye, I think Kanye had a blog on like Honey or something. Then he started what was it? Kanye University, a blog.
I got vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Virgil kind of does that now. You get to see his inspiration. You get to see all the interesting things that he looks at and is pulling from. Um, but you know, like I don't know if that's right or wrong. Like that's something that I like. That's what I love about the internet is
Yeah.
being able to pull random things and share it. But at the same time, like you know, not everybody's necessarily cut out for that kind of thing. But that also makes me think, and if you would have asked me this even like a couple of years ago, I would have just thought you were being an idiot. But is Virgil Abloh like more important, more influential than Kanye now?
I'm gonna say no. Not in the sense of what he does is not important, no, but not by any means because him being at Louis Vuitton, him having probably the most influential Nike collaboration, possibly. Like it's up for discussion, but I think it's in that talk. I would like to say that if it wasn't for Kanye, that these guys probably wouldn't be in these positions. Not because not any lack of their own talent, because they're all super talented. Virgil's super talented, but it was Nike taking a chance on Kanye, seeing exactly what he can do with them holding the reins, basically. Then see when he left, that he got his reins back at Adidas, seeing holy crap, this became a phenomenon all over again. So with Kanye believing the blueprint, I think he would be more influential just for that reason alone. And I'm open to say, hey, I'm wrong about that, or even go to the other side because I can see the other side of the argument as well. But if you just look at it from ground up, I feel like the foundation was there from Kanye to do that because he's the first one going out there. You know, Louis Vuitton collaborations, Bape collaborations. I mean, that was more of a hip hop thing to begin with, but he was just kind of taking everything. And he found a home at Nike for a while, and boom, some of the most coveted sneakers in the world. And he even went. Didn't he intern at Louis Vuitton or something? Was it him and Virgil? I
Kanye?
can't remember this. Yeah, didn't he actually intern somewhere like
I
where he
mean,
learned?
I don't remember specifically that, but I mean, Kanye obviously, you know, had his own Louis Vuitton line too. So like that's another
Mm-hmm.
interesting. You know, the way I look at it is Kanye ha- probably would have had the opportunity to do exactly what Virgil's doing right now if he wanted to, but he wanted to
Mm-hmm.
have Kanye West's, you know, ex Louis Vuitton collaboration. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's a different choice in the direction that you're trying to go. Like,
Mm-hmm.
both of them are completely groundbreaking, right? Like to think of somebody
Mm-hmm.
like Virgil as creative director of Louis Vuitton is bananas. Like if you would have
Yeah.
said that 10 years ago to anyone,
Like,
people would have
nah.
just been like, no way, right? Even
Yeah.
Kanye 10 years ago, people would have been like, there's no way, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
Kanye, I mean, he raps about it, he talks about it all the time, right? Like the reason why Adidas is the best partner for him is because they give him so much freedom. And
Yeah.
like big fashion houses can't take that risk. And
Yeah.
when you see like when you see Kanye lash out in like the Sway interview or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
as a brand that's hundreds of years old, like Louis Vuitton, you can't possibly take the risk to give that person complete control over what they do with your product and your name. With
Yeah.
Virgil, yeah, you might be a safer bet in a sense because he's not as like strong minded, stubborn in his kind of like approach to things, or at least from
Yeah.
a public perspective.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Public. Yeah. Public persona.
Like he obviously has his own design stuff, right? Like the
Mhm.
quotation marks and off white is a formula that he's stuck to for however long it's been now. It seems like
Yeah.
forever, but um,
Yeah.
I actually think that you know, aside from Kanye's, um, just probably the sheer number of shoes that he sold for Adidas,
Mm-hmm.
Yeezy, whatever. I actually think that generally speaking, Virgil's work and collaborations
Mm-hmm.
is more generally accepted and popular with a wider audience than Kanye's.
I can see that.
Which that's I think the weirdest part about the whole thing, right? Like not to be like the person that's like, well, what would have happened if, but like Kanye moved to a completely different space, right? And like I almost think that even where he's gone, right? Think of like Jerry Lorenzo, right? Kanye went a little bit further with the Yeezy stuff, the Yeezy line of apparel
Okay.
fashion, right? Went a little more out of the comfort zone where Jerry Lorenzo's Fear of God still expensive, but brings it back in a little bit where it's like, oh, that's wearable for the average consumer. Where
Yeah.
Kanye's stuff is like, do I want to pay, and I'm just generalizing, but do I want to pay $700 for a
Mm.
crew neck with cut off sleeves? Like that's hard to do. Now, if it's a nice finish and all that stuff, and it looks a little bit closer to the norm, then I think Jerry Lorenzo and Fear of God can
Yeah.
get away with it, which is really interesting because it's almost like all the people that surround him just didn't go quite as far as he did in terms of like the kind of pushing the envelope. I don't know if that's the right term, but
Yeah. I mean, if you look at, so actually, this is before I really like knew like the Kanye family tree, basically. When it came to the Yeezus tour like merch, I think Jerry Lorenzo actually designed a lot of it. So I had
yeah,
never bought anything Fear of God before, just before I knew what it was, and I looked in my closet because I bought this Jesus shirt a while back, and I was looking at like, and I was just looking at something on Jerry Lorenzo, and he was saying something about it. I was looking at his design. I'm like, wait, what? And I went back. It was actually one of his designs, and it's just weird. I'm like, wow, like you're right. He took whatever like Kanye was doing because that's what he was helping him design that line at that point, and he just took it to a point of like, all right, here's like Kanye's passed this line over here into like some different territory of like trying to be high fashion, uh, but almost kind of being like I don't know, almost like sarcastic. I feel like his clothes are almost sarcastic, like, hey, I'm so high fashion, I look like a hobo. Like it's just kind of remember Zoolander, like Derelict, where everyone was looked like they were off the streets. That's what it reminds me of. And but Jerry Lorenzo is able to, hey, let's taper it up a little bit, still make it baggy, whatever, still like the long hem t-shirts, baggy pants, everything kind of big. But he was able to get these partnerships of like NBA, You know, of course, he worked with Nike for a while, but he was able PacSun, where he was like, you know what, let's take it mainstream, and I think that's what Kanye didn't do at first. He kept it in his little Yeezy supply bubble, which made it hard to get, or random places in like California or or New York that these like Barney-esque type stores that people don't have a lot of access to, and it just made it harder for people to accept it. If it's widely available, it's easier for someone to accept something. Like 350s are accepted by everybody. You see from a kid to us to someone's like grandfather wearing 350s in the streets because it's just at this point widely accepted because it's widely available. And I think that's kind of what it is. He wanted to be such. He's like, you know what? If I can't be like the head of this brand, I want to try to beat them. It seemed like he respected everyone who taught him something in those high fashion brands, but because they wouldn't let him have basically the keys to the castle, he's like, I'm going to try to beat you at your own game. And it just, I mean, you see kids wearing it. I honestly, I don't see, when I say this, it sounds awful because I'm not trying to like down anybody, but I don't see a real adult wearing Yeezy's clothes if they're not Yeezy. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it's almost like Justin Bieber or nothing, right?
Yeah. Like, not saying he's not a grown up, but I'm just like, he's not doing a normal. I don't see anybody working a normal 9 to 5, even if they make 6 figures going by it, because it's like, well, it's just not something I'm gonna wear on a daily basis. But Bieber's out there just he's a celebrity, so it's like, oh, if I get caught on camera, I love for them to see me in XYZ clothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's really interesting too because I feel like there's so many spin-offs of what Kanye could have been in terms of the collaborations and the the other creatives. Like Virgil is like the top of that list, I think, just because he's found the most success. But like, like all these guys that are in this circle that have been doing stuff, like they were able to make something really good out of the relationship with him. And I think that although they all are very respectful and give credit to Kanye, the downside is that they all have their own brands, right? They all have their own collaborations. There's so many of these guys that have done work for Kanye and then gone on to start their own brand, and most of them have Nike collabs. I mean, obviously Jerry's with Adidas now, but like they all have like built up their own brands in ways that are really just a direct competition to Kanye and what he does now, right? And I think that's why, going back to like the Kardashians and that conversation, the cool thing for Kanye is that, like, Scott Disick and Rob Kardashian are not fashion people, right? They're not making their own brands. I mean, maybe they do. I'm not, but they're not like high level fashion people, right? They're not like doing collaborations with Nike or Adidas, so they're not really competing. And the rest of the family is supportive of Kanye because they're selling more women's stuff. So like, and I know Yeezy Yeezy has women's stuff too, but like the focus for Kanye's stuff is primarily guys, right? Like it's a huge percentage of his business is selling guys.
And it's all streetwear. It's nothing formal, nothing like the women are like, they're really doing like higher fashion, like dresses and real traditional female wear, as opposed to Kanye's like, he's not infringing on their turf, basically.
Yeah, and even when he does like, he does heels and some women's boots and stuff, like even that stuff is like more an accessory to what they're doing, which is really kind of fascinating because like he kind of had this perfect little scenario of like, look, here's literally almost 1 billion followers, or probably over 1 billion followers across the family and all the other subsidiaries that are almost always going to talk about the Yeezy release when the newest model comes out. Maybe not every colorway, but really like puts it on a map when, especially like a shoe like the 450 comes out and is like what the hell is that, right? Like that's the question for most consumers. Well, guess what? They learned it because one of the Kardashians wears it casually, to the gym or in a photo shoot or whatever, and now all of a sudden people have
like, what's that shoe?
Yeah, people have somebody to say this is what it is. where like you don't have to be a sneaker consumer to get that information, right? Like you could be a casual sneaker buyer, buy a shoe once every few months or once a year, and you'll still get that information because they have just such a massive reach, which to me is just like super bananas to think. And I mean, I don't know if it's good or bad. Like, I don't know if, I don't wish bad things on anyone. I hope that all of them continue to find crazy success like they have. But I can't help but wonder, like, what this all means for like Yeezy and the brand and him as a person moving forward to, I don't know, make up that difference, right? Because I mean, you just can't even fathom that number of people. A billion, like, let's say half of them are fake. That's still 500 million people that are seeing your stuff.
Yeah, there's still more followers than not at that point. It doesn't matter if they're fake or not at that point because the exposure, because maybe it is a fake bot run account, but still just reposting stuff.
Yeah.
That's gonna and the thing is, if we're gonna go down like just this quick second, this little rabbit hole, but a lot of people who are on these social media sites, they don't vet the people that follow them because they're like, ooh, just a new follower. Like I know probably you, I, Robbie, and Ro, we're just more like, hey, is this even real? Then we'll delete it if it's not, just because we want to make sure we have a true number when we go talk to people about things. But casual person who just wants to be popular is gonna say, yes, new account, even though it's super bot looking. They'll just feed into whatever it is, and maybe just pushing pictures of Kardashian and Yeezys. That's theme of the week, whatever. And boom, you got a free advertising space right there from something that is just being a nuisance on the platform, basically.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I guess like that's pretty much the gist of the episode, though. I would love to hear from everybody listening. Like, what's this do to Kanye's future in terms of like sales? Because just pure numbers, it looks like a huge uphill battle for him to have the kind of reach and influence that he has, with the Kardashians behind him. And, taking away all of the like judgment and all the stupidity that normally comes with these conversations, because there's so much hate on both sides. Like, I just think like, I just don't see how it all adds up for Kanye moving forward. And just seeing like how emotional he is with dealing with things too, you could see that this is probably going to be a challenge for him to process, and he's going to need that time. Everybody would in this situation, right? Not to mention having such a public life. But hopefully, things turn out for the best, and like we get the creativity, because obviously I think he brings a huge value to footwear, to music, to fashion, just to creativity in the world, regardless of the ups and downs that he may go through. But I guess like kind of thinking of the Virgil comparison, all that stuff. Do you think, you said you think Kanye is probably still, above Virgil in terms of like overall popularity and success. Do you think it's possible for Virgil to catch Kanye or to pass Kanye in the future?
I don't know.
It's tough. It's tough because I think probably I'm thinking the same thing you're thinking. For me, the music is what actually makes Kanye great.
That's where I was gonna go with that. Is he has another level? Like, yeah, the clothes and things, but when I think of Kanye, first thing I go to is music. Shoes and fashion are secondary to me. And I think that might be a lot of people, honestly. I mean, maybe not the younger generation we haven't had a lot of Kanye music as of recent. I mean, last thing was Life of Pablo, like the real album, Life of Pablo, 5 years ago. And think of this, kids who are, 15 now, who are really getting into shoes. They were only 10 when that came out. Maybe not heard it. Yeah. Exactly. So it's tough. I want to say the music just as on a level of just pure culture everywhere. He covered all bases, but just depends, I guess, who we're talking to.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be interesting to see how it all plays out. I mean, I'm kind of excited to see hopefully the good stuff that comes from it, right? Because in a musical sense, at least, I 100% believe that the best music comes from the pain and suffering that we all go through in relationships and in life. So I'm actually excited about the future of Kanye's music more than I am about the sneakers and the stuff we've been talking about, because, like 808s and Heartbreak was my favorite, aside from the first album. 808s and Heartbreak is my favorite album from Kanye. And, or, I mean, maybe, what's the
Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy?
Yeah, Beautiful Dark Twisted
Fantasy. That's by far
like,
my favorite Kanye album.
Those are the two for me where I'm like, okay, it's him going through the mental struggles that and the creative output from it that I love about it. And hopefully, not wishing pain on and suffering on him, but like that's what comes from it when you deal with it, right? It's like the good is like dealing with it and processing it, creating the music that you ultimately inspire others with. So
it's like process through music, not through Twitter, Kanye. That's all we're asking.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So, all right. Well, let us know what you think. As always, you can follow at Sneaker History on all the platforms. As we said earlier, definitely check out Patreon, patreon.com/Sneaker History, or hit our links on Twitter. You can get straight into the Discord that way if you don't want to use Patreon. But got a good little community going on, a lot of fun stuff in the works, and I think you would enjoy it if you're listening to this podcast. So my name is Nick Engvall. You can follow me at Nick Engvall on all platforms. Mike, let them know how they can find you.
Yeah, find me in the Patreon, or not the Patreon, but the Discord all day, every day. Find me Instagram and Twitter at MadWatcher789 and YouTube at Mike Guillory.
Right on. Well, thanks for listening and spending an hour of your time with us, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
See you.